Alright, today I'm going to be teaching you how to install Whonix on VirtualBox. The example I'm going to be using is in Arch Linux, as you can see, but it should work basically exactly the same for Windows, OS X, or any other version of Linux. That's because VirtualBox is multi-platform, and the OVAs for both the gateway and the workstation are the same no matter what platform you're on, at least as far as I can tell. With that out of the way, let's get started. First things first, you're going to need VirtualBox and you're going to need Whonix. To start with, to get VirtualBox, you're going to want to go to the VirtualBox downloads page. I'll put a link to this in the description, but for now I'll just show you what you're going to be looking at when you get there. This is what you're going to be greeted with. So as you can see here, the VirtualBox binaries, that's what we're after. If you're on Windows, you're going to want to grab the top one. OS X, there you go. Linux, they also have packages in here for you. Or you can just install it with your package manager. So for example, if you're on Arch, you would do sudo pacman s virtualbox, put in your password, hopefully get it right, get it wrong, try again. There you go. Obviously it's already installed, so I don't need to do that. If you're on Debian, for example, you might do apt-get, install VirtualBox. I don't have apt-get because I'm not on Debian, so that won't work. I'm going to assume you know how to install a program. After you've got VirtualBox, the next thing you're going to need is Whonix. Again, you can get that from their download page. Link will also be in the description. Oops. And I'll just show you what you're going to be doing when you get on there. So what we're going to be doing is the VirtualBox examples. So you're going to want to go to your operating system. VirtualBox is there. You just want to hit download. And it'll take you to the next page. It's going to finish loading. So first you're going to want to download the gateway and then the workstation. Or either way, it doesn't matter. Download them both at the same time as long as you got them, as we do here. And that's basically all you need to have to get started. Internet connection, all that boring stuff. Keyboard, mouse. If you're watching this video, you're probably most of the way there. Okay, so once you've got that stuff downloaded, you're just going to want to start VirtualBox and we'll get into the process. But before that, we're just going to have a quick talk about what Whonix is, some of the benefits it gives you, and some of the vulnerabilities perhaps that you could face. They're not so much vulnerabilities as they are user error, but we'll get into that. So first things first, Whonix is a desktop operating system and it's designed for advanced security and privacy on the ToR network specifically. So when you use Whonix, first we'll start up the gateway, and then we'll start up the workstation. The gateway is the first VM we start because that starts, and it starts up ToR, and it gets ready. It sets up a proxy server which will pass all data that we use on the workstation through the gateway, which is connected to ToR. It's twice sandboxed, so when you're using the workstation, say for example you somehow manage to get a bit of malware, even though you're on Linux, so it makes it much harder just in that respect. That workstation, that malware, isn't going to be able to affect your host. So for my example, it won't affect my Linux install, or for you it might be Windows or Mac OS. It doesn't matter. The malware isn't going to be able to get to your computer. Also, because we're using the VirtualBox, the virtual machine in VirtualBox, your IP isn't going to be able to leak because the only IP that some malware, for example, on the workstation is going to be able to get is the IP that Whonix gateway gives it, which is already passed through ToR. It should be incredibly difficult for anyone to get your IP just through malware or something malicious like that. To do that, it would have to be a mess up on your part. For example, SSHing into your own machine, and that just puts your connection in the clear. Doing stupid things like signing on Facebook on ToR. You can do that, but don't do that in the same session where you're doing something else that you want privacy for, because they're just going to put one and one together. Hey presto, old mate that was looking at Silk Road, if you're so inclined, was just signed onto his Facebook. Good job, you caught. So don't be doing stupid things like that. Whonix is also, it's not amnesic, so that means that when you use it, it's going to retain the data that you've written to it. So in your web browser, it's going to save your history, your cookies, anything you download, it's still going to be there when you start it up again. So you just need to keep that in mind. To get around that, when you install the gateway and the workstation, you can set up a snapshot of the fresh install, and then every time you use it, you'll delete the install you've got, reinstall the snapshot, and that snapshot will be fresh. Obviously, data recovery techniques can be used to recover the deleted snapshot, so that's why it's also recommended that your host, in my case the Linux box, is full disk encrypted. That way if someone had physical access to your machine, they can't get at the data anyway because it's encrypted. Obviously if you leave your desk and it's logged in and everything you've got is just running on the desktop, you've fucked up. And there's nothing Whonix can do about that. And it also won't protect you from an extremely powerful global adversary. So if someone has the capability to monitor the data leaving your computer, your home network, and also the data entering a remote server, just say for example they're monitoring everything going into Facebook, alright? And if they see the encrypted connection from your home going into ToR, and it sends such and such packets, such and such amount of data, and they monitor on Facebook, oh, this amount of data is the exact same amount, it matches the time you logged in, it's the exact same stuff you sent, obviously it's encrypted, but they can get sort of a gist of what's there, even if they can't tell the contents, then they're going to be able to fairly roughly sort of approximate that that's you that was sending that data, even though they can't read it. Facebook's a bit of a shitty example there because they have so much bandwidth that it would be stupid to be monitoring them, but that's the idea. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get started. So the first things first is you're just going to want to open up VirtualBox. On Windows, it's probably just on the desktop. On Mac OS, it would be in the Applications folder. I'm sure you know how to open an application. So once you've got it open, you want to go to File, Import Appliance. And we're just going to go to our Whonix directory. I'm going to start with the gateway. It doesn't matter which one you load first, but it's at the top of the list, so he goes first. Actually, before we do this, disagree. You don't want to change any of these settings. If you absolutely have to, you can decrease the RAM a little bit, or if you feel like you've got enough RAM to splurge, increase it a little bit. It doesn't really matter too much. If you use under a certain amount of RAM, then the VMs will boot up in CLI instead of with a graphical interface. You don't really want that for the workstation, but after everything's set up, you could set that to about 256 megabit of RAM, and the gateway would boot up in CLI, just save you a little bit of resources, but that's not important for now. So just leave that as it is, click import, bit of a blurb here, whatever, agree, and it's going to start importing. It shouldn't take too long. It certainly won't take too long here, but obviously that depends on how fast your computer is. It's not going to take 6 minutes, so we'll just sit through this. And there we have it, the gateway is imported. Next thing we're going to want to do is pretty much the exact same process, and we're going to import the workstation. Same thing again, leave these settings as they are, import, agree, sign your life away, and there we go, it's importing. Okay, so now we're going to want to power up our gateway, and then we're going to power up the workstation, and we're just going to update them one at a time. When we log in, it'll prompt us to update, it'll prompt us to connect to ToR, and we're just going to get that out of the way. So just double click it, and she'll start up. Yours won't look like this. It's because I like to make everything more difficult for myself, and i3 doesn't play very nicely with it. So we're just going to get that started, and I'm going to put it into full screen mode. So I've put the gateway on my 4th workstation. That's not important for you. But, that's what was going on there. That's what looked a bit stupid. Let's close this error. Oh, sorry, close this notification. And this is just the virtual machine booting up. This is standard fare for booting a Linux machine, because Whonix runs on a modified version of Debian. Okay, so we're just going to let this boot up, let it do its thing. And now we're in. In a few moments a little message should pop up and it'll get started. There we are. It's just, you know, general warning stuff. It's not too long, so you can read this if you want. I read it the first time I installed. And we're just going to go, I'm ready to enable ToR. Something to consider if you're in a country that, for example, just exactly as it says here, ToR is censored or dangerous, then you're gonna have to set up a bridge so that your ISP and therefore your government can't tell that you're connected to ToR. That's not important for me in Australia, but if it is for you, that's something you're gonna want to keep in mind, and that is not automatic. So you're gonna have to read about connecting to ToR through a bridge, specifically connecting Whonix through a bridge, and follow the instructions there. If there's a bit of demand for that, I can show you how to do that too, but for this tutorial that's not important. So I'm just going to click I'm ready to connect to ToR and let it do its thing. I'm going to click yes, automatically install updates, just keep it secure. I'm going to go to the stable repository. And that's just telling you how you can update things as well. And that's that, that's done. Now we'll just go to system settings, I believe. Oh, never mind, it's going to do it itself. And this is just checking the ToR connection, making sure we're actually connected. And it won't take 3 minutes, but it's going to say it will. That's just advising us to do an upgrade. So we're going to just copy and paste that to make it easier. Okay. And we're going to open up the terminal and do exactly as it says, because you want an updated system that's going to keep you more secure. I've forgotten the password for the default install. I'll be right back. Put that in when I get back. Okay, so the default password is just changeme, as it should be. I'll put that in the description as well. And that's just going to go ahead and update. Just going to first upgrade the repositories, then update. Or the other way around. We're just going to click yes here because we want it to install everything. And it's going to do it. Now this is through ToR now, so it's going to be a little bit slower than your default connection. That's fine, ToR's slower, that's to be expected. I'll cut this or speed it up and I'll be back with you when it's done. So the package update is done. It's going to pop up with this little warning here. It's just to let you know, for example, if someone was installing in the background that you didn't know about. Obviously we initiated this install, so we know it's happening. So when it's done, we're just going to click OK, never mind. We had to cancel it if it wasn't what we wanted, but it's done now, and that's good. Everything for the gateway at this point is pretty much done. We've updated it. Periodically just pop in and run that same command and make sure everything's up to date. But aside from that, the gateway is done. Now that we've done that, we're going to do pretty much the exact same process on the workstation, just leaving the gateway running in the background, because obviously the workstation needs to connect to that. The process, like I said, is going to be exactly the same, so I'll just fast forward through most of this and I'll just stop if anything jumps out at me that's different to what we did before. we're back in action. So now I've got both the gateway and the workstation updated, which we'll just double check. There's the gateway on workspace 4 for me, and the workstation on workspace 5. It's irrelevant for you guys, they'll be in a window, and if you're using i3 or something like me, then you'll know what to do, and you'll understand what that means. So now I've got that set up. I'm just going to launch the ToR browser, which is not installed by default, and we're going to start the ToR browser downloader. And what that's going to do is just download the ToR browser and let us connect to the internet that way. Well, we're already connected to the internet, but browse the web that way. We're just going to install the can do what it says, install the default version. It's been a while since I've set up Whonix. Okay, so now we've got the ToR browser installed. Just going to go ahead and compare the IP to the default system as well as the workstation in Whonix, and we'll see if everything's up and running. So just go to my IP in Google, and there we go. Got that there. I'll probably cut some of that out for you guys. Now we're comparing the workstation. Just go to google.com. A little bit slower than on the normal connection. Here's my IP. Let's wait for it to load. Got to fill in the captcha because no one likes ToR users apparently. Not allowed privacy anymore. And there we have it. A completely different IP. And we'll just double check that in the terminal as well. So open up the console. See what I've done. Did it twice. There we go. Third time's a charm. And we've got a different IP again, because the ToR browser, when it connects, it's going to route itself through the Onion network, and the IP here we've got is from the gateway. So they're both different to my system IP, or my host IP rather, and that means we're up and running. So from here on out, it's up to you to see what you want to do. You can have a look for the Onion wiki, the hidden wiki, and that's going to give you just sort of a surface scratch of what you can find on the Onion network. Because obviously the URLs in the Onion network are different to those on the clear web. So for example, DuckDuckGo has its own Onion service. So I'll just click the Onion service just there. And there we go, it's loaded. There we go, hidden wiki as well, one we were originally looking for. So there we go, DuckDuckGo, we're connected to the Onion network. You can't connect to .onion domains unless you're on ToR, so that's how we can guarantee that it's working. And there we have it, we're up and running. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. Otherwise you can head to Plez on Ryzen, irc.ryzen.net/6667, and the channel's just Plez. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you got it up and running. See you later.